to stand up for wrestling. I am here to give the fans a voice.
If you're not watching the promotion right now, you're missing out on something I think that could possibly shape the future of wrestling, and I mean this wholeheartedly, for the next 5 to 10 years.
Nobody can touch me. Nobody is better than Adam Cole.
This company is still existing, yet they have to do this at the 11th hour to make sure they run these tapings. I thought TNA was going to be different, and I guess not.
This is truly the Kevin Owens Show.
Pentagon Jr. is the wind beneath my wings. The only thing that we get at 10 for sure, maybe at 11, is Ken Shamrock showing up.
12 years, more miles traveled, more cars wrecked, sitting in the back of squad cars more times than I care to admit, a whole bunch of stuff that I can't talk about in a PG show, more bruises, breaks, more pain, more frustration. It's not just me, it's all the people who supported me along the way, who helped me along the way, who stuck with me. People stuck with me, helped me stay alive. This is theirs, this belongs to them. They know who they are, and I say thank you to them. Everybody else, everybody who want to write me off, well, they can all kiss the champ's ass, you know what I'm saying?
Ladies and gentlemen, wrestling to the mat.
And your hosts, Gary Vaughn, Sean Garmer, and Paul Deezer.
Hello and welcome to WrestleMax episode 200, part 1. We are brought to you by the WWE Network and in partnership with LastWordOnSports.com and ForumMania.com. Gary, we've hit 200 normal episodes of this podcast. I want to say normal because, geez, we've done so many more.
Yes, we have. You're exactly right, Sean. We kind of talked about this, I think, in the other show or maybe even before, but we may have done 300 of these technically because we've done so many extras and a bunch of different shows that were not considered a part of the count of our episodes. But it is, fine and dandy, but what really matters is that these are very special because we cover each week in wrestling, and so that's what we're counting. So we've done 200 weeks in wrestling thus far. And it's been great. I mean, we've had just a blast doing it. I know this thing started off, with just 2, but now we are 3 and over 100 episodes, if I'm not wrong, with 3 of us.
Paul's been, I think, for, at least 125.
125? So,
then that doesn't even count the ones where he was a guest for most of the show, whatever. Maybe even closer to, 150 or something for Paul.
Yeah, I think I'm pushing 150.
So, Paul is, you're way into this thing. And so this is great. I am so happy that we've reached this milestone. Honestly, when we started this thing, we were thinking, where is it going to go? How's it gone? And so I'm just thrilled to say that, we are 1,000 plus, maybe 1,200 or so in our Wrestling to the Max group, which started out with 30 people. The podcast is growing in numbers. We've joined 2 awesome websites. We've got 411mania.com, which we love. Those guys are awesome. Last Word on Sports, a great website to be a part of. So we are thrilled about that. And of course, we started the W2M network. So this thing has definitely grown. Here we are at 200, and I am thrilled to be here, guys. And on this episode, in this 200th episode, we're going to be talking about Monday Night Raw. This, of course, is the hangover after that big pay-per-view we just got through talking about not long ago, and that is Money in the Bank. And so you're going to get a chance to hear us talk a lot about Dean Ambrose as champion, and a lot of the things that kind of were falling out from that big pay-per-view. Plus, we're going to jump into the Stone Cold podcast that happened right after Raw tonight. We're going to get into what his discussion with AJ Styles was like, what we liked, maybe some of the things we disliked. It was a pretty darn good show that we'll get into that. Plus, we're going to talk some Ring of Honor. not only we're going to talk their TV taping that they had, but we're also going to jump into Best in the World. We're going to preview that, kind of give you our ideas, maybe some directions on how we feel the whole thing is going to work out on that pay-per-view. So we've got a full show, a great one at that. But before we get into all the great wrestling stuff, I mean, I'm thrilled about being a 200 episode, Sean. I mean, I think when we started this thing, where did you imagine we'd get this far? Because it kind of shocks me that we've made it this far.
Well, I know we made jokes at some points during the show of like, we're gonna be 80 and still no, but like no, I mean, I don't care who ever says that. You don't ever imagine it. I think I remember looking at things and going, oh my god, we're like never gonna get nowhere, and just look at this, we're like barely doing this. Are we even gonna get to like 10 episodes or whatever? And just now it is where it is, and still got tons of growing to do. Still, the things you can always improve on and whatever, but still cool to say that we did this thing for 200 straight weeks. We didn't miss a week, and yeah, just so many things have happened with the podcast. Like, no matter how long we do this thing after this, Gary, like your daughter will be connected to the podcast because there's a podcast where you announce the fact that you guys are, pregnant and all that. So like that's cool. Like that's for me, it's always going to be that I moved here. Maybe I moved back in the time that we're still doing this, but still like our kids have grown through us doing the show, and like with Paul, like getting to be closer friends with him because of this, and all the people that we've met because of this, and just it's a cool thing,
Yeah, Paul, reached a milestone graduating college. By doing this podcast, and of course, he'll be able to talk about a lot of the things that were going on in his life. So this is kind of cool, Paul. We got like a little bit of a good thing going for us because kids in the future for you, I'm sure will be able to listen to this and be like, dude, this is what my dad was doing back in the old days in 2016.
Yeah, living them free and single days.
Exactly.
I mean, I haven't been around for the full ride. I've been around for a good portion. Just like you said, it's really cool to make it this far. Like even when I came on board, and I didn't think my involvement would be as much as it sort of turned into. And honestly, it probably, like, I mean, out of everybody on this show, I would say I do the least. But certainly, it's certainly cool to make it this far. It's certainly cool to have, keep going on this journey with you guys and everybody who's listening, of course. And I'll be honest, I never thought I would stick around this long, and here we are. We're 2016, 200 episodes. That's what we're pushing 4 years now. I mean,
yeah,
it's crazy.
In August we'll be 4 years old.
That's insane, wow. And wouldn't happen if it weren't for Dirt Sheets and all those dirtsheets.com and Zach and David sort of masterminding inadvertently our creation here.
Yeah, exactly. Because it was, Gary and I kind of started it as a sister podcast to them, and then it lasted, by itself. Well, unfortunately, without them. So just, and then Larry pretty much embraced us very early on, and he like, I got to give him a lot of credit too, because if it wasn't for like him like basically saying, hey, look, you guys do such a great job with this, I feel like you guys deserve a spot, and he makes sure that between him and Jeremy, they try to get the podcast up as quick as they can when I put it in there, and they're the ones that really help us with getting views, and they help us putting it in the round table that I do. So they give us a lot of publicity. The Last Word on Sports guys give us a lot of help too. I know we're going long on the personal stuff, but just had those guys too. They deserve a lot. I don't talk about them enough, but the Last Word on Sports guys. Sometimes that's all I do in a week. I don't write anything for them. I wrote the news for them about the draft this morning, but there's a lot of times, a lot of weeks where I don't do anything for them other than the podcast, and they make it seem like it's a big deal that I got that out there and all that stuff, and they've embraced it as a part of the wrestling zone for them too. So, I just want to say thank you to everybody that listens. Thank you to everybody in the group that is awesome. And, that is so, whether you listen to the podcast or not, that just being able to interact with people through it and, all that, this whole thing is a cool thing.
It definitely is, and we, definitely I second that. Appreciate everyone who's supported us, who's been there. I would have never imagined that I had people listening to me, over in different parts of this world. The UK, over in Australia, New Zealand, anywhere else that
South Africa, yeah.
Oof,
Yeah.
man, it's amazing. So I appreciate everyone who's definitely checking us out. It doesn't go unnoticed. We definitely appreciate everybody. So thanks a lot. So I'm sorry we took up a lot of time with that, but we had to. It means a lot for us, and we hope you understand that. So, all right, well, let's get this thing started, guys. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about here. So the first thing on the docket is Monday Night Raw. Let's get this thing going.
WWE Monday Night Raw.
Well, this week's Monday Night Raw was live from Phoenix, Arizona, and this crowd was actually pretty good for most of the show. So hats off to them on that. Why am I forgetting now how they started this show off for some reason? Gary, while I'm trying.
Yeah, I know, man. You're making me forget.
Seriously. Oh, well, see, we didn't tell these people this if they're listening to one and not the other. We did a day later than we normally do, but we did a Money in the Bank review podcast that also doubled with Dominion. So we were actually doing these back to back. You on the download may not understand that part. We're doing them back to back, so trying to remember 3 gigantic cards all in your head is very...
Help us out here, Paul. Are you reading the review?
Here we go. So it starts off with Dean Ambrose coming out after we've seen a scene where he almost forgets the title in a cab. Typical Dean Ambrose,
God love you, Dean. I do.
Typical.
Magical.
Typical Dean. Dean, as the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, comes out to start Raw, and he talks about, he runs down the show, makes a joke about the Cavs, people boo, and makes, some jokes about Las Vegas, so that's where the show was. And then I think it's Roman Reigns comes out first, and he and Reigns go at it for a little bit, and then it's Seth Rollins, because I think Reigns basically says, well, he's got his rematch, so he wants to go against Ambrose because they're friends. And Rollins says, hey, wait a minute, I got a rematch too. And, yeah, basically, then Shane McMahon comes out, and we get a rematch of a rematch, because it's Roman Reigns against Seth Rollins in a number one contenders match to main event Raw on this show. And we'll just go ahead and talk about that main event too, because it kind of goes in with itself. I think this match is better than the match at the pay-per-view. It was much more clean. The crowd was way more into it. It also didn't happen 30 minutes after 11. Which helps. They were much more there's a lot more energy about the match. It actually felt bigger, probably because of the one number one contender stipulation and all that stuff. But you get a double count out, which sets up basically Ambrose saying, hey, I'll take both of you on. And he kind of leaves it almost in a, okay, I'm going to have a gauntlet match sort of thing. Well, Shane McMahon comes out and then clarifies and says that, no, it's going to be a triple threat match. So we get the Shield triple threat at Battleground, not SummerSlam. Makes me worried a little bit for Dean. But how do you feel about Dean opening, his buddies closing the show, and a rematch of a previous match we just saw on the pay-per-view, and then you're getting the Shield triple threat a month earlier than we thought?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It is a month earlier than we thought, and I was kind of curious to see, what they were going to do. And when they showed this and the way this all unfolded, it makes all the sense in the world. Paul, you alluded to this
and
already.
Also, too, one thing I forgot to mention is
go ahead.
These guys could be all split up in the draft, and they can't have the match.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the reason why. And we talked about this on that show where we did the Money in the Bank discussion, and that is the fact that the reason they probably had the cash in is because of that. Because they, can't have a Money in the Bank briefcase running around if they don't have the same person on the same show that the champion's on. Because it wouldn't be a Money in the Bank contract for the Smackdown title, right? Because, I don't know, maybe it could be. But, in the long run, I mean, this is good. I think it all makes sense. Paul kind of alluded to this maybe being the case, right? But down the road of the, so I think it was good. The match was great, all that. But I want to say this. I mean, I like the beginning. I like the promo discussion because Dean Ambrose is Dean Ambrose. He's joking around and all of that. But I just got to throw this out there. Did you notice the way he was holding the title when he would talk about it? He would hold it up. Do you notice he kind of had it technically upside down? When he'd hold it up, it was like the Miz because it was like an M instead of a W. Do you notice that, Paul?
I haven't watched Raw yet.
Oh,
so.
I'm sorry.
I did not notice
Sean,
that.
Did you realize
I did not notice that
okay,
at all.
you have to go back and watch it. I thought that was funny. But once you get a chance to check this out, Paul, you have to look at this. It's kind of interesting. The other thing is Sean, this is terrible of me, but maybe this is just Gary's mind working. But don't you imagine Dean Ambrose with his title, how dirty that thing probably is after a night with him after winning it? I mean, I don't know if I'd want to touch it. I mean, there's probably Canadian DNA all over that thing.
Oh my god!
I mean, Renee Young was probably all over that, and I'm just telling you that's.
I did see plenty of people on Twitter tweeting at her to ride him good tonight.
Wow.
So people have no chill apparently when it comes to being behind that keyboard. But at least it was something nice. Something. It was vulgar a little bit, but whatever. I'm sure she already had it. Would have been cool to I don't know if they never went back to the pre-show. I think during that would have been cool to at least get to acknowledge it a little bit or something on camera that boyfriend just won the title. So
I don't think they'd make that known though. I don't. They didn't, especially.
No, we will. We will know on whenever the new season of Total Divas starts because they're on Total Divas. So
maybe they'll make it a big deal. But notice after the Money in the Bank went off the air, or in fact after he won. No, not after the air. Actually, when he won the Money in the Bank briefcase, she was just kind of like, "Yeah, look at there, Dean Ambrose," but she never said boyfriend, never said anything like that. So
I think unlike Lana, where that's out there in the open, I think because she is a interviewer, she has to be professional, so she can't necessarily do that.
Yeah.
The bit of audio that you took for our intro, Gary, was that from Dean doing stuff on the Fallout show or something?
Yes, it was.
Okay, that was an absolutely wonderful piece of promo stuff, and it seems like it carries over into this opening segment, where Dean flat out says, "Hey Roman, I would have cashed in on you too." Dean is great. I think he plays so well.
Yeah, and he does the dirty deeds to Roman.
Mhm.
He doesn't do it. He leaves Rollins alone. He does it to Roman because Roman tries to make him turn around and talk to him or whatever, and Ambrose's like, no, I'm not having none of that. So,
Well, I got to ask
yeah.
you a question about that, though. Did the dirty deeds to Roman Reigns last week on Raw? And
Yeah.
yet he's still happy for Dean Ambrose. If someone did the dirty deeds on me, I'm not so much your buddy the next week. I mean,
well,
I still
whenever
respect
they
you.
in their feud, they sort of have that understanding with each other of, hey, you gotta do what you gotta do to win, kind of thing. Like,
fair enough. I get that.
I mean, it's that normally in any other feud, that's what would have started the whole "I don't like you" thing. But because it's Roman and they couldn't, have him at that time show any kind of heel tendency because people were already booing him, they had to do it that way. But,
What do you also think about the, at the end of this, but basically because this kind of ends this whole show, but, with Ambrose doing the dirty deeds on both Rollins and Reigns, it's kind of like the Stone Cold thing, the kind of the celebration where you get your finisher off and everybody in the ring.
PG Stone Cold. I mean, that's kind of what they've, like a goofy PG Stone Cold. I'm fine with it. I mean, Ambrose makes that goofy thing work.
So.
Paul,
go ahead, Paul. I'll tell you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think there are times it works better than others. He's been booked nowhere near as strong as Seth or Roman since the Shield split. So I think that he's got a lot more working against him, and I question whether a short title reign, because I don't imagine it going long, even though I want it to. I can't imagine a short title reign does him any favors in that light. Because he could end up, we could end up getting sort of a breakdown finish at Battleground where Dean is down and both Seth and Roman end up pinning him at the same time, and that's how you split the championship. I could see them doing that. You
heard it here first.
I mean,
if Paul
a
gets this right,
logical way to split the championship, that would be cool.
Yeah. I'm behind that, Paul. I really didn't put that together. I like that idea. I don't want that to happen because I don't want split titles, but they're going to do it anyway.
Yeah, they're going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
it'd be like the Lay Cool one. They'll just actually split it in half.
Just actually break it.
Yeah.
Let Naito throw it around for a while. It'll get there.
Yeah, see, there you go. I like that.
Gary's the one that says Naito's going to show up at SummerSlam. So
yeah, he will. You watch it. I don't care. Even if he doesn't show up, I'm still going to pick him. It doesn't matter. But I'm just telling you, they split it down the middle, guys. Then we're going to have the V title for both shows. So. But, also, I want to throw this out there as well. If we have Dean Ambrose playing the softcore Stone Cold Steve Austin, you guys we need to work on this podcast. Go ahead and trademarking the word "huh?" ? Because, Stone Cold came up with the what? I'm sure Dean will eventually go, huh?
He kind of already does that sometimes.
Well, then maybe it'll get stronger. So
like
I just try to find a good trademark.
His facial expression gives you that.
It's true, it does. So.
And then as for the main event, Larry rated it worse than the show, the match at main event Money in the Bank, but it's only by a quarter star, and I can only assume that was because you didn't have that super sweet top rope suplex into the Falcon Arrow. That I need to mention that move because that spot was sweet.
Fair enough. And we didn't even mention on the last when we did the special for Money in the Bank, we didn't even mention the crowd. The Vegas crowd was excellent at times. I mean, oh my God, I can't believe we forgot to even talk about that. We were so focused on the matches. But this Arizona crowd was not bad. I think for this episode of Raw, Sean, I think the Arizona crowd did pretty well for themselves in some of these segments.
Yeah, they certainly did. There was certain parts of my event again where you can tell, especially on Money in the Bank. I mean, you can tell where they mess with the crowd a little bit. That's happening, people. You can sit there and tell me it's not. You can tell when that sound goes down. It's not a joke. It's obvious. If you're not hearing it, it's because you don't want to, but it's there. And now if you go back and watch it, you're watching it with them editing it because they edited that spot where it was an obvious 3 count during the tag team title match that I think we all forgot. We might have forgot to mention, but yeah, there was a part where I think it was Enzo and it was bots. Like the ref's hand goes down to 3, you hear the crowd go 3, and they go, "Oh, whoops, that wasn't supposed to happen," and they don't count the fall. But yeah, so I mean, they've been known to do that, so I wouldn't put it past them. But just yeah, the Phoenix crowd was really into stuff. Can we stop with "You can't wrestle" chant? It's stupid. Especially for Roman. Because the "You can't wrestle" chant wasn't there in the main event. Like, it's absolutely disrespectful to the wrestlers, and it's just dumb. It doesn't apply to anybody on that roster, really, other than maybe if you want to chant it to Baron Corbin. But, like, not Roman. You can hate Roman all you want to, just that does not apply to that man.
I agree. To an extent, because I kind of felt like you did. I mean, like, I think the crowd should chant whatever they want. Me personally, but I get where you're coming from. I just wish Reigns would have just killed it by not even responding to it. He responded to it and told them to go back to drinking their beer.
No, specifically the dudes. Like, he singled them out. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because that's who's cheering against him. I mean, all the girls are going gaga over his body, and the kids are like, Roman Reigns is who Vince wants us to like, so we love him.
They like the superheroes.
Yeah, I know, and it's fine. If I was 3 years old, I'd love Roman Reigns too. 5 years old, maybe not, you know? But, you know, it's just the way it is. Whatever. But I get where you're coming from, Sean. And yes, the crowd got a little involved there. But I think you kill that stuff by being silent, you know? In fact, the crowd, let me tell fans this right now. If you really want to be smart and you want people to look really bad, don't react at all. When they cut a promo and do a joke or make a really heelish comment, don't react at all. Be silent. Pretend like you're in Japan. That will kill them off TV. Vince will be like, no reaction.
Sadly, the 2016 generation, the millennial generation does not understand that point.
I know. So, I mean, I know. I'm not in that generation, sadly, but, you know, it is what it is.
But moving on from this, you know, they do officially announce the draft is happening. So now, you know, Brian Alvarez can go continue to tell you about this. This is a joke I'm going to tell, and it's very meta, so it's not... Like, that dude seriously went on every show and talked about the draft, even though there was never an announcement the draft was happening. And he would tell you about things that are going to happen in the draft, and we had no idea the draft's happening, right? So it's like his thing that he's stuck on forever and ever. Now it's going to be worse. But we do get acknowledgement of the fact that there will be general managers. So, and Shane alludes to this later in the show, that he and Stephanie will both be running both shows, and there will be basically general managers underneath them. So sort of like the way Vince kind of oversaw things, but he didn't get involved as much. And then, you know, you'll have guys, whoever is going to be called general manager, and they also acknowledge that they are officially doing you can split up anyone, including couples. So, you know, because they make fun of the fact that maybe Lana and Rusev will get split up. So,
and knowing Vince, he's going to do it just because he's pissed off at them about the whole marriage thing.
They let Lana acknowledge the fact that he is his fiance just openly all the time now, every time he announces him. So maybe he's accepted it, because I imagine they wouldn't let her do that on TV. I understand that part of that's a heel tactic too, of getting them to boo Rusev because he's got Lana or whatever.
But you know, Vince, I can't believe that she looks, blah, 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 she should love me, blah 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 blah. You know, things like that.
God, I hope it's, at his age he's still not hoping that, you know, women that young are liking him that way. But Well,
You make it sound pretty creepy.
yeah, that's the guy that wants an incest storyline with his daughter. So.
Oof.
Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens is the first actual match on the show. Look, these guys can fight forever, and I will never be bored of it. Good match here. Zayn once again wins for the second Raw in a row.
Very well done. I really enjoyed this. Of course, I'm like Sean. They can fight forever. But, what I do like about this is that Sami Zayn is victorious here. Kind of the roll-up thing, and I love that. It boils down to this. It's because Sami Zayn is a guy that needs us more than Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens has made himself known on this scene. The main roster is kind of like his playing field. He has become a part of it. It is no longer, hey, this is a new guy. This is an old developmental guy. In fact, I think a lot of fans don't even think of him as being a former NXT champion. Sami Zayn's different. He's still pretty fresh, pretty new, and for him to get a lot of relevance, for people to consider him to have some respectable wins and things like that, you got to do these kind of things. So, completely happy with this overall, and I think it worked out right. And it adds to the feud. This feud is going on, and it makes sense why it keeps moving on and on.
The big brawl at the end signifies that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love segments like this, especially when you have the cameras follow the brawl to the back, and you have all these people trying to separate him, and they just simply can't. And for Sami and Kevin, it just works to an even larger degree. Even if you're only familiar with their work here on the main roster, or if you've been with them since NXT, or if you've been with them since the beginning of their journey way back in the early 2000s, it all helps add to the whole aura they got going on. And when they get a chance to let loose, assumingly at Battleground in some kind of match, they're gonna knock it out of the ballpark.
For sure. Just hope they can keep delivering on what they've already set between the matches we have seen with these guys. I did mention that we know now that there will be general managers for the draft, and People Power shows up on Raw. Big Johnny has officially been Bella-ized with his outfit that he had on. Big red suit with white shoes. Man. Takes some boldness to wear that. Johnny Ace. Enzo and Cass showed up, and they make a reference to the Dynamic Dudes. So that's always awesome after that, too. After that segment. I think, was it here or later that Shane tells them about he'll be running both shows, but
Shane does this before Enzo and Cass come out. Actually, Enzo and Cass come out after he sends Johnny Ace on his way.
Yeah, so Enzo and Cass have a short match with the Vaudevillains. It wasn't really anything. It's basically just to get Enzo and Cass a win.
The Johnny Ace thing was fine. It makes sense because we've been talking about this. Who's the next guy is going to show up and take the part of, hey, I want to be the general manager of SmackDown. This works because, Johnny Ace used to do that. I like the fact that, if they're going to have Stephanie McMahon tear down Teddy Long, you get a chance to have Shane tear down Johnny Laurinaitis here, because one was a babyface, so a heel tears him down. One's a heel with the babyface tearing him down. It makes complete sense. It's not bad. I kind of like the thing too, where basically Shane says, "No, we are going to be running SmackDown," and Johnny Ace runs behind the Raw podium and says, "Oh, good. Well, that's fine because I'm running Raw then." I like that. I thought that was great. So, in all, Johnny Ace looking sexy and all that in his suit, and cool. Good to see you, man. Great voice. But, you send him off, and Shane, this is the part I love. You have Enzo and Shane McMahon doing their little runoffs, doing the whole scooting backwards across the stage. I know what you call that, but I love it. That was kind of cool to see them do that. Because people I think have made reference of that plenty of times. Look, Enzo's doing the Shane shtick by doing the whole running around thing. So I like the fact that they kind of duel the tag team that kind of. But here's the one thing, Sean, that I want to point out, and this is kind of weird. We've kind of touched on this before, but once again, I love Enzo Amore. I love him and the things he comes up with, but some of the lines that he cuts, like the fertilizer joke about Johnny Ace, they drop flat. The crowd does not react.
He also gets to use his big NXT line too, the one with if I had this many dimes, I'd have 0 dimes.
Mm-hmm. Which got over more than the fertilizer one.
You know why? Because they've heard it.
Yeah.
But it's just, it also makes sense. It's an actual line you could do, just I don't want to do it over and over. That's one thing that bothers me.
Yeah, so I just have concerns there. But
I'm just worried that they're going to have him have catchphrases that he does all the time, and it won't be unique at all.
Mm-hmm.
At least now he's saying different things, so just a little concern there, like you said. There's cause for it. Baron Corbin squashed Zack Ryder. The only thing we need to talk too much about that. You did have. Now, we mentioned the thing on the previous podcast with Paige about her getting detained by the police or whatever, and everybody got this big old deal about, oh my God, Paige got arrested for domestic violence. Why is she not being suspended like King? Oh, it's sexist. Whatever. Come on, people. Can we have common sense here? If she really did something, you think WWE wouldn't suspend her? It's not like Paige is really a vital part of the show right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, hooray for consistency and continuity, guys. They actually acknowledge the fact that Charlotte lost to Paige. And so she's getting a women's title match here. Dana misses a spot where she's supposed to put Charlotte's foot on the rope, but she can't lift Charlotte's foot in time, so she has to basically hold on to it blatantly and put it under the rope. And then the referee has to watch Dana holding on to the foot and not say anything because she wasn't supposed to be doing that. I just feel bad for her sometimes. And basically, Charlotte wins. It's a good match. It wasn't anything special, but the big thing here is Sasha Banks has finally returned and hits the backstabber on Dana. And yeah, don't know if they're gonna go with the title match. I think they might do another tag, but
Yeah, I think that's where they're going exactly. And
please save one match for SummerSlam, for God's sake.
Yeah. Very true. But it is nice to see Sasha Banks is back. Of course, this whole thing goes down. Everybody knew Paige wasn't winning. That's duh. So that's really the key here. Now you have Sasha Banks involved with this match. It's starting to kind of make a little bit more sense here, Paul.
Yeah, the picture clears up. There's reading the promo that Becky gives where she says she's sort of the last diva or the last women's wrestler left with any honor or integrity, just cutting to the bone, just savage. But yeah, Sasha showing up on Raw. There was if I could channel Monty Python for a second, and there was much rejoicing.
I love it.
Awesome.
So yeah, at least me and Paul talked about this division last week, and like I told Paul, I felt like I had nothing to talk about. Now at least we do have a clearer picture. Now we may have some things to actually get into. Not a lot, but at least we're a little bit more positive on this.
Yeah,
episode.
now they're at least between the two feuds. The women's division will be compelling again,
Mm-hmm.
which has been a problem. for a while. So, you're going to be into the Sasha Charlotte, and looks like we're, if that promo is any indication, pay attention to that Natty and Becky. If you just hope they don't put it on Superstars or whatever.
Right.
And give it time, and we could be into both of these feuds, and that's awesome. So I think aside from that stuff, we have which was announced on the pre-show, the Wyatts return, and they come out to do their thing. They get welcome back chants, and the fans are cheering for them, and Bray acknowledges them, saying, "Hey, you missed me." And then New Day, of all people, interrupt and talk about contrast of just two teams, or two stables, or whatever, New Day and the Wyatt family, and New Day makes jokes about the fact that Eric Rowan has a big booty. I guess he was trying to channel his J-Lo there. I don't know. New Day just keep making the jokes, and Bray laughs at the fact that they make jokes, and New Day is going to fall, is what he's saying. So, what do you think? Wyatt's and New Day feud, guys?
Yeah, I love, I love the Wyatt family being back. Let's put it that way.
I wanted Bray to be a face.
I don't. You guys talk about how great that'll be. I don't. I'm happy with Bray being dark, grimacing. I want him to stay in the shadows as long as he can. I really do. I want him to be winner in the shadows, but I do want him to stay in the dark side. But this really was a contrast. I mean, you got on one side dark, grimy, and then the next thing you know, you've got three guys running out in rainbows and jokes and all that. So it was very weird in a way. I kind of wish I was on a altered substance of some sort to really get into this and really enjoy it. But I wasn't thrilled about this. This really was not all that great. I mean, I was kind of, wishing RVD would have been in my house. I think I could have enjoyed this a lot more.
That would have been that's to be an event in itself. Gary on a substance, because Gary's pretty, he thinks some crazy things sometimes. Just being Gary, like I'd hate. Wow, imagine where that mind would go on a substance.
Yeah, no, it's dangerous. That's not a PG show. I'm just telling you right now. But yeah,
Gary's the angry drunk.
I don't. Yeah, I've been known. My wife was reminding me. I told her a story about me being drunk and protecting myself from a young lady in my old days, because I knew I was going to pass out, but I could not allow anything bad to happen that I did not want to happen. So yeah, I used a lot of language I don't usually use. I'm usually away from the language, but yeah. So that would not be a good idea for a show like ours to continue on a good pace. So. But yes, no, I was not thrilled about this. Just me personally, I love both. I love both tag teams to death. Just not a great segment.
Yeah, from the write-up, it sounds very confusing exactly about where they're going here. Because it's New Day come out, do their thing, the Wyatts do their thing, and it just seems like the both passed each other in the night and didn't even acknowledge each other,
Yeah, exactly. I think they kind of kept it. They didn't want to outright say this is where they're going. I think they kind of wanted to leave it up in the air and see what we're going to do from here forward. But it's a nice tease, I guess, if anything. Before we get to the other big segment on this show, Rusev and Titus O'Neil were due to have another match here after Titus asked for it because he was pissed about what happened. Oh, and I should note that not only did they make fun of the Lana and Rusev possibly splitting up, they also made mention that Miz and Maurice could get split up too. So They're really pushing the whole people are gonna get split up thing. But Titus doesn't. They don't even have a match here because Titus just goes crazy on Rusev and starts whooping him, throwing him into things. He is pissed about the fact that Rusev tried to disrespect him and disrespect his family and make it seem like his kids didn't care about him and all that because he's a loser. And, Titus is out to defend his honor and his family's honor. And, maybe the match doesn't deliver as far as entertainment goes when we get to it, but this is a much better way to book Titus here than they did for the first time around on starting the feud.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. And, really, this boils down to being revengeful, being Titus, making his presence known in a positive way, especially after the way he got treated at Money in the Bank. And I do like the fact that you see Rusev retreating here and living to see another day. That's the way you want to see it. That way you feel like, hey, Titus is a force to be reckoned with. He is not a wuss. He's not a guy that talks a big game and just gets beat down. So really right here, that's the positive thing about this. Titus kind of stands tall.
Yeah, I mean, something like this, giving him a reason. Like, the whole thing before this seems like a prelude now. The whole reason to set up this feud now was to get that payoff at Battleground, or not at Battleground, at Money in the Bank, and then you have this moving forward, giving Titus some fire to show. And it certainly makes this a whole lot more interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It gives you a reason to care about Titus. That's the thing. Like, you want a reason to actually feel something for why you're rooting for Titus, and now you have that. So hopefully they continue to build it well going into Battleground and all that. So the other big story going on here is, of course, the fallout from what happened with AJ pinning Cena with the help of with the help of the club, and basically AJ kind of does this thing where he's going to bring out the club and make him apologize to him again for getting involved in the match, but it's all a joke. And Cena comes out because he's supposed to get apologized to as well, and he's pissed, and he basically says he wants another crack at AJ, and AJ says, hey, look, I got the Stone Cold podcast later. I'll give you Carl. So we get Carl Anderson and John Cena, and man, this could have been something, but no, Carl Anderson doesn't even get a lick of offense on John Cena, and then Gallows comes in for the DQ, and yeah, I mean, just no bueno. No bueno.
No. The way I look at this is the club still doesn't look good. Really, I feel bad in a way for these guys, but they're getting paid too much for me to feel really bad for them. But just it's once again proof to me that right now they're not looking for the club to be anything special. They just don't care enough about them right now. I really want to be able to sit in the chair of the fan that's very casual, that has only watched Monday Night Raw, doesn't even watch SmackDown, just sits down on a Monday night. This is their show they watch. I want to know how they feel about not only the club, but AJ Styles. Because AJ Styles, who's a face, you can get into, you jump into as a heel. Okay, maybe I can get it. But when he does these kind of things, I kind of wonder if the people out there who are really big casual fans think he's a cheesy kind of a heel we've kind of seen before, because we've seen heels do this kind of stuff before. This is nothing new. The whole apology that's not real thing. Seen that plenty of times. So I kind of want to see how other people are looking at AJ. I see AJ and I see, okay, not the best guy on the mic, but man in the ring, he's amazing. And I believe in him. So, I'm still a little lost here. I don't really think that any of this went over too well. I hated the fact that, like Sean pointed out, no offense for Carl Anderson. Wow, what a great way for me
Well,
to
let's be
believe to
honest.
go.
Carl Anderson hasn't had offense, period, since he's gotten here. So
That's exactly why I think, all the reasons I've said about the club is looking terrible. I'll never be able to believe that they can win a tag team title, let alone win a singles match, because these guys look like they're just terrible.
Yeah, I mean, not booking him to get any offense is kind of lame. But, I mean, I'm always down for AJ Cena interaction. AJ sounds like he gets to play a wonderful douchebag here, so hats off.
yeah, he does, and I like the fact that again, Anderson and Gallows get to show a little personality here with the joke and all the having to say I'm sorry and stuff, and that's good. You kind of need that from them. We didn't get to see it a whole lot when they were during the feud with Roman, so we're getting to see it a little bit more here, and that's good. It gives them a little piece of themselves instead of just, oh, here's these guys and they just shadow AJ and
Yeah, totally right. Personality, that's one positive thing I can say about this whole thing. You're right. Their personalities do shine a little bit here. But, I want them to be able to tell jokes, not be the joke.
Oh, you're right. No, they should be able to, and they have at some points, but it's just kind of what it is. The club continues to be just guys, and I really hope we're still setting up something with Balor coming and taking him over and making him more serious, because if you're just going to make them the jokes the entire time, then what are they here for,
It makes you wonder if they're here to make the Bullet Club kind of look like they're silly. Like, oh, well, that's the Bullet Club in Japan, but if they come to WWE, look, they're not worth anything. So, hey, Kenny Omega, come over. We can squash you too.
Ultimately, right now, they are a vehicle for AJ.
Right.
That's all they are right now, ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's get into this rating.
An okay Raw. For me personally, I didn't think he was anything super special. For me, I'm going to give it a 6. I mean, it wasn't just the worst Raw I've seen, but not the best either. There wasn't a whole lot of highlights for me.
Yeah, you get a pretty good main event that delivers, a main event that, felt big and wound up being big. A good match between Owens and Zayn. You get some storyline development with some of the matches, Sasha comes back. I'll go ahead and say 7. I think it was a good show. You got some things kind of setting the stage for what's supposed to come. And it should be more interesting as the weeks go by. We get closer to that Smackdown being live in the draft and all that.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll have to see, how this thing continues to unfold. But we are going to move on and talk about the Stone Cold podcast. That happened right after Monday Night Raw. Paul did not get a chance to check out Raw. He also did not get a chance to check out the Stone Cold podcast. But Sean, you did. I watched it as well, and I think that this is one of the better ones. I really enjoyed some of the questions. I think that AJ was very forthcoming. But overall, I mean, how did you feel about this one?
This was really good. They basically let AJ let loose here, and Stone Cold kind of guided him through his career. He got to talk about a lot of things. They straight up went into TNA, talked about Dixie Carter and her fascination with WWE guys. And the whole, his thing with Christopher Daniels and Joe and his time in Japan. He got to talk about Tanahashi and Okada, and they showed a picture of the Bullet Club there. It's Yujiro on WWE TV. Never thought I'd see that. There was times where Stone Cold cuts him off, and it kind of sucks because he was going to go into something that's interesting, but just sort of just get to talk about. He mentions the whole the reality of how he almost re-signed with TNA because he was scared about something could happen to his kids while he's in Japan and he can't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
I just, and as parents, Gary, you and I know that feeling of just, even when you're at work and I can't imagine, like, you're freaking hours and hours and hours away where there's no way in the hell you could do anything.
Halfway around the world,
Yeah.
there's nothing you can do about it, and I get that, like you said, as a person who has a family, wife and daughter, and I get that. I love the fact that he jumps into the fact that, he turned down WWE all those years ago because he did want to make sure his wife could continue with college, and he didn't want to move to Cincinnati. They wanted him to move to Cincinnati to train, and he's just like, I can't do it. I got to be fair to my wife, and so that just shows you the kind of man he is. He loves his family, even though his wife told him to go. He said, "No, I'm taking care of you. I'm not going to let somebody else take care of you while I go do my thing." So he talks about that, brings up his kids a lot, talks about his own dad and his life living, as a young man, dealing with a father who was a drinker. Things like that. Talked about his house he lived in. A lot of personal stuff, too. That was kind of interesting. They got into that kind of stuff. AJ's background, how he got into wrestling. It was a really good, in-depth perspective of AJ Styles, but it was not so in-depth. You got a lot of details. You got to find out a lot about him, but they didn't get so deep into it that you got some of those juicy things you want to know about each topic they talked about. Like, I wanted to know more about the locker room in Japan. I wanted to know a lot more about the TNA. They did expound about TNA quite a bit, but I wanted to know more. I think he was going to expound more on some of these big topics that people were really interested in, but you have to understand, Stone Cold Steve Austin, this is his podcast, but on the other hand, this is on the WWE Network, so he has to listen to other people. He can't do whatever he wants, like as if he could on his own ranch.
And they're also trying to fit into an hour.
Yeah. Exactly. But it's worth it, right? It's worth an hour.
Oh, yeah, it's totally worth an hour, and they've got a good makings for a documentary for AJ. Just with everything that's talked about just in the podcast, if he gets to expound on some more of those things, which I imagine if they're doing a documentary about AJ, they're going to try to skip as much about TNA as they possibly can. They can't not acknowledge it because with like Sting, you kind of could gloss over it a little bit because he had the legendary stuff in WCW and the NWA, whatever, but AJ is TNA, so you kind of can't, and just the fact that they talked about it so much, just, they don't talk about it so much, but like they actually let him have time and it didn't feel awkward. It felt like an actual part of the conversation, so I thought they were just amping up to the point where they were just going to maybe mention it, but yeah, just, I thought they would talk about a little bit more about Ring of Honor. They kind of didn't so much, but so.
Yeah, they didn't. But it's understandable they couldn't get into everything, and hopefully this leads to, like you said, a documentary. Hopefully this leads to us getting maybe AJ Styles getting a part 2 on just Stone Cold's podcast alone, and not having to be on the network. I think they can get into a lot more stuff on his actual personal podcast.
Right.
So here we go. Hopefully we'll see some other great things come from the Stone Cold podcast. But we are going to move on from here. We're going to jump into some quick hits. We have a few things here. We're not going to spend a ton of time on quick hits. We're going to kind of run through these, but we do have some important things to talk about. So we'll be right back with some wrestling news.
It's time for wrestling news. Quick hits.
All right, guys. Well, we found out, of course, if you were watching Monday Night Raw, you got a chance to see them actually talk about the fact that the official date for the Raw draft, or for the WWE draft, is not on Raw. It is actually going to be on Smackdown, the first live Smackdown. That's July 19th, right, Sean? I'm trying to think.
July 19th, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that's going to be really great, really interesting. And one thing that adds to this too, I want to bring this up, is the fact that we've got a lot of rumors around the internet that the fact that WWE's been still contacting a lot of those 40-plus-year-old wrestlers. We got names like Shelton Benjamin, Kurt Angle, guys like that WWE's been kind of contacting. Maybe there may be some thought of that being a situation where they bring some of these guys in for this brand split. But the draft is coming, and now that we have an official date, how do you feel about this, Paul? How is this kind of draft rounding out to you? Do you think they're doing it the right way?
Oh, man, who's to say if it's right or wrong at this point? I will say I think the draft is giving them a point that they very rapidly are coming up on, that they have to figure out what they want to do here with what they have going on and how that's going to feed naturally into what they got going. There are certain portions that line up already. Obviously, you have Shane and Stephanie and all that already there and in place, because if they're not the GMs, then what the heck are you doing this whole thing for? But I think at the same time, contacting all these older people might be a bit of a mistake. I understand you're going to want names and you're going to want people and surprises to show up for each brand, but ultimately the point of this should be divide and conquer. Now you have two different shows, you can make a whole bunch of new stars, and when the need arises, you can put on one heck of a show that's going to make you a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, I had to, as I mentioned, did I mention on here? Yeah, I basically woke up and saw this, and I wrote up a quick, breaking news thing on it, and you still have we don't know what they're going to do, as far as how they're going to do this draft. We sort of know, okay, we're gonna do the thing again where it's unpredictable, and we split up tag teams, which I think is silly. I think you could have just drafted the tag teams together, but whatever. At least now we know the New Day are not going to get split up unless they do some kind of thing before then where they try to make everybody defend all the titles so that who's going to be champion going into the shows and all that stuff. We don't know what they're going to do as far as, okay, are we going to have two champions? What are they going to do with the champions? The other champions? What? We don't know any of the, really logistics. We just kind of know the things I mentioned during Raw right now, and that's it. I hope that we're going to get more things filled in as time goes on, and it's not going to just be one big old exposition during the draft, because that's going to be a lot. We want to be able to do a mock draft and have all the info, Yeah. There's been no hint about NXT either, so that's probably something they're kind of keeping on the down low right now. They're probably still at that point where they don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yep.
It sounds like it. It really does. And you're right, Sean. The NXT brand is a big, interesting question mark, too, because of the fact that you've got a lot of guys you can say they can bring up, Finn Balor being one of them. Right now, Joe's the champion, but if Joe wasn't champion, that's another guy I would throw in the mix here, and plenty of other people that we could really be excited about seeing. So with NXT being a question mark, plus, what I just mentioned earlier about the 40-plus-year-olds, you've got names like Kurt Angle, you've got, Jeff Hardy, you got MVP, Carlito, just tons of different names out there. All that not being in place for you to know in the draft, between NXT and those names, it's going to be hard as heck for us to do any kind of prediction.
Kurt Angle makes it seem like he knows he's coming.
But he doesn't see that he's coming soon, because in fact he alludes to the fact that the brand split may not be when he comes.
Well, he just said that he's only been talked to about working with American Alpha and other NXT guys. He says that he hasn't been talked to by Triple H since the brand split announcement or whatever, which would kind of kill that rumor. JTG says he has not been called, which I don't imagine they're going to call him, and it doesn't really matter if they call JTG or not. Let's be honest here. Unless
They
they're
call
gonna
Chad.
reform Crime Time, then maybe. But Jeff Hardy is a possibility. He has not re-signed with TNA under that exclusive deal, so that's always a thing that could happen.
What about Stevie Richards? Right to censor.
What are you gonna remember about the Good Father again? I mean, everybody else is kind of.
Where's Ivory? Bring Ivory back.
We can, as Val Venus would have to censor himself. He's out there selling medical marijuana, so what are some of the? Shelton would be kind of cool, but it's just, would they really do something with Shelton? That's my only problem. I don't see Goldberg coming in. Like, some of these guys, I just don't see it happening. I think they're just contacting him and it's whatever. But
Goldberg is extremely out of this, if you ask me, only because he wants to work a Brock-like schedule, if not less than Brock.
Well, they for one, Goldberg is not a guy you want working every day.
Right.
Because he's also a special attraction. So that's not the problem. It's the money.
Sure.
He's the type that would try to get Brock money even though he don't deserve it.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot into this. I mean, there's a lot of names, a lot of situations. But, overall, I think we're all excited about the draft, right? I mean, this is going to be really cool, a lot of fun, a lot of speculation going into it. Once again, it's going to be hard to predict. I mean, I don't know how we're going to mock draft this thing unless they really clear the picture up for us.
Where there's a will, there's a way, Gary.
And I've already had several people ask us if we're doing it. I think that's going to be a special episode by itself, because I've also asked several other people, and there's a negative towards it as well, that the mock draft is only fun for the people that are actually doing the mock draft, and it's not fun to listen to afterwards. So, which sort of can be true. So maybe we'll just do a special. This is our mock draft. It's not going to be part of an episode, and you can listen to it if you want to. You don't want to, whatever. But hopefully they do outline things, because I just have a feeling at the end of the day the NXT thing is sort of going to be this underlying, we're not going to flat out say it. It's just going to be a thing that happens on draft night. We're just going to see NXT guys get drafted.
Yeah. I think it's a good idea. I think that's the right thing to do, and keep tuned everyone for this, because this is probably the way it's going to work out. So let's jump into the fact that we have some other news going on with WWE. That's the fact that Jerry the King Lawler got suspended for a domestic violence situation. It really kind of was weird because his wife and him both were put into arrest, and now they're just kind of told to stay away from each other until they can get on to their next court date, which is actually July 1st, blah, blah, blah. Jerry the King Lawler has been a part of this company for a long time. Do you think this is kind of maybe a good way for them to say, thanks, Jerry, we're moving on?
Maybe. I certainly welcome the opportunity for them to do so, because, I mean, come on, Corey Graves on Smackdown is what we want. But I don't know. He's a guy who's got a lot of tenure. He's a guy they've stood by in some other shady dealings that he's had too. So, tough call.
Yeah, aside from the heart attack, I think the other time that he left was because of his wife as well, right? When the cat had the problems with WWE. So
exactly.
Poor Jerry in woman trouble. It seems like this one's not his fault, though. It seems like the girlfriend was drunk, and hopefully this gets absolved. And had to see a guy lose his job or something like that.
I do too, and it's not that I don't want him to be successful. I just, the guy can make plenty of money doing other things.
He's 66. I mean, they did try to get rid of JR before that time. Maybe just take an executive spot and just he's not on the air anymore because of this or whatever. But I'm with you. My only issue is I'm a little bit worried that they might put David Otunga there or something and not bring up Corey Graves. But who knows?
Yeah, that is kind of a little bit nerve wracking to think that. But let's move on. TNA signs a former Tough Enough competitor, Chelsea Green. She's also wrestled in some other organizations, one of them being Stardom and Shine.
I still haven't seen any of Tough Enough from last year. She debuted on the most recent Shine event, which was this past weekend. And apparently she had a really good match too, so I need to look into her. Plus, Stardom. They don't pick bad talent.
No, they don't. Chris Lemsey is a big fan of hers. He was very excited at the fact that somebody signed her. Surprised WWE, they went on that big route where they signed all the Tough Enough people, and they still have some Tough Enough people that are not, I think, under contract. They're just there at the Performance Center. And I don't blame Chelsea, though. You want to go with the place that you know is going to give you a bigger deal and a more guaranteed type deal, and I think she could still do Stardom as long as it's, TNA is now under this where they control the bookings thing, and maybe they don't want her to go all the way to Japan and stuff, so that might prevent her from doing it, but she should still be able to do Shine. Maybe she does some Shimmer too, which Patrick is going to that big Shimmer weekend thing that they're having this weekend. So, maybe we'll get some thoughts on what's going on with that. But just that's cool that she's been signed, and now we'll see her in TNA.
Yeah, we'll have to see it. And I'm kind of curious how it's all going to work out for her because, I remember her from Tough Enough, but outside of that, I don't know much about her.
Yeah, she was the one that got hurt, right? So
is she? Okay, so that's the one. Okay, so I just couldn't remember who she was. And last two things, and I'll just put them together because it's really small little tidbits of news real quick. Mark Merrow had heart surgery, so, I hope he has a great recovery, feels a lot better. And we also have Sunny. We've seen her and her things that she's been going through with drugs and trying to stay clean. She's actually 90 days clean. And WWE, of course, paying for that rehab. So hopefully, better days for her too.
Yeah. Getting an aorta replaced is scary.
Oof.
And that's his heart had to be stopped for like 40 minutes. That's that's no joke. Thankfully, he's doing okay. Got a long road to recovery. I think I saw that he posted on Twitter, but glad that he's doing okay. And Sonny, always good that you're clean. That's good. Hopefully you stay that way. If you want to do more, whatever porn stuff, I'm sure there will be someone that wants to go watch that. Not any of us, hopefully.
No. Good vibes to both, either way. It's good, health and happiness to both.
Exactly, and we'll have to see, if maybe she considers making a movie with Mark Merrow. So, but anyway, there's always those considerations, guys. We're going to move on, though, past that. We're going to talk about something more positive. We're going to jump into some Ring of Honor. That's right. Not only do we have the Ring of Honor show from this past week to talk about, but we also are going to break down this big show coming up, this pay-per-view we like to call Best in the World. We're going to give you our predictions and all right after this. All right.
All right, Paul.
All right, away we go with Ring of Honor this week. We're going to open up with the television once I get to it here in the good old notepad. So we open the show. We're still in, we're post, blanking. Post post New Japan ROH crossover show that was most recent up in Canada. So opening up is Moose with Stokely Hathaway. Wow, easy for me to say. Taking on Tetsuya Naito, who is over as all get out. They have a pretty fun match, I think. Naito completely shows him up, but I think Moose really gets his licks in here and there. Naito, of course, goes over with the Destino, of course. And, yeah, good times, I think.
Yeah, the best way to start a show for any promotion. Naito starting off with a win. I wish every promotion would have this blessing upon them, but not everyone has that luxury. Raw would have probably got a 10 from me this week if this would have happened in the opening segment of Raw. So, no, I mean, what else can I say about it? I mean, I agree. Moose got his in, man. I really love that too. I mean, I was kind of thinking to myself, Moose may be the odd man out here. He may get kind of lost, but no, it actually worked out well.
Mm. Absolutely. And, Dynamite talent in Naito, and Moose more than has his strong points. So, and Moose is on that short list for NXT. You don't get there for nothing, especially these days.
Mm-hmm.
We segue into a commercial break, which comes back with Rhett Titus and Kenny King imploring the audience to help them make wrestling great again. Sort of go off on like a little Jim Cornette shtick here. It's all right. It's nothing super impressive. It does lead us into their match with Jushin Thunder Liger and Cheeseburger, which I was endlessly excited for. And you get what I expected, which is a really fun match. I think Liger and Cheeseburger are just a fun combo, something I really want to see more of. And then, but A&X, of course, they're the more over team. They're the team that's actually going to go somewhere, and they get the win. TKO, rock bottom sort of combination on Cheeseburger.
I love the Online Express. I think these guys are just fun, but you're right. I mean, this wasn't their strong night on the mic. It was okay. It was what it was. But overall, I mean, I'm glad they got the victory only because this Cheeseburger and Liger thing isn't going to be around all the time. So it makes sense to me. They will be around all the time. No problems with that at all. But this is okay. This was nothing thrilling or nothing just brilliant. But I will say this. I mean, I love your wording here when you said Liger and Cheeseburger are a good combo. I'm thinking maybe Liger needs to change his name to Fries.
Jushin Thundershake Liger.
Think about it.
Wow.
The tag team name, The Combo.
Number one combo. You gotta have a number in there. If we're gonna go full steel.
I love it.
So we get a couple segments here right in a row. Roderick Strong comes out to complain about Nigel for having to team with Mark Briscoe on the commentary table, and they sort of get into a scuffle that has to be broken up. And this that's going to lead directly into Best in the World for them. And then we have Silas Young come out and cut another wonderful promo, in my opinion, talking about how men aren't men anymore. Uses ACH as the example, typical but greatness from Silas. You're talking about how, he's mocking him for playing video games and for just, being what your typical 20-year-old dude is right now, or maybe older. I'm not gonna ageist us here, but essentially Silas is the real man. ACH is not. ACH gets to come out and have his little just due as he gets to beat on him a little, which is good times.
Yeah, this all works. It really does. And, you alluded to this, I think it was last week, Paul, about how great Silas is doing when it comes to these little promos. I think it's wonderful, too, and I'm enjoying it. This is all Silas Young. This is what I loved about him feuding with Dalton Castle. This is what I'm loving about him feuding with ACH here. I just think it's great. It's also interesting, behind the scenes, this guy is a regular guy. He's not all about this, but basically he's being his dad, and that's what you feel. You feel like this guy is an old, veteran, just big time, gray-haired guy. But no, I mean, this man is not like that. But yeah, he just does such a great job of it. It's just so believable. So I love it. Great skills on the mic here, and it really kind of sold it for me.
Sadly, no representation for this feud on Best in the World, which is a big kick in the pants. But, win some, lose some, I guess, because we're going to get a whole lot of other good stuff. But main event time, Kyle O'Reilly taking on Kushida. I don't even think I need to tell you that this was great.
Yeah, I mean, really, honestly, we say this all the time. Go watch it. Please go watch this. If you don't watch anything else in this show, I mean, I know we just bragged about Silas Young's promo, but even if you want to skip that, watch this. This is just excellent. I loved it. I just sat back and just enjoyed it. So it was definitely a positive.
Yeah, it's a 10-minute sort of submission stiff match that you would see in New Japan, with Kyle O'Reilly ending up getting locking in a Kimura that he transfers into an inside cradle to get the pin. You don't get a lot of growth for Kyle here, but man, he can work, and especially with Kushida, that's very apparent.
And it was nice to see him do so well, because recently we haven't had Kyle O'Reilly really do a whole lot, at least when it comes to being a success, and I think this is great. So
it's sort of a holding pattern, and if they want him to be a world champion sometime, you gotta invest, and I think ROH is just waiting to pull the trigger on it. So, but that's your ROH TV, and if we're gonna segue in, we're gonna talk about Best in the World next.
Yeah. So if you want to break down that card for us, we are going to talk about that, and once again, these TV tapings leading up into this show have not been many. I think we've had 3 or 4.
If that. This last one only added one match.
The next week's will probably be like what's supposed to be the go home after pay-per-view.
Yeah.
I know. It's ridiculous, but that's the way they do things. So, saying all that, not a lot of build-up, but still, this card looks pretty good.
Absolutely. So at the bottom of the card here, I got Mark Briscoe taking on Roderick Strong, which we just sort of talked about that having spillover into Best in the World. This should be really, really good.
Yeah, should be. Mark Briscoe has been getting these, I think since the time we've been covering, he's had plenty of these opening matches. And he does really good with all of them. We talked about him on the New Japan show. This should be a pretty good match here with Roderick Strong.
I'm trying to think who I want to win on this.
And this could be Roderick Strong's last match, too.
We don't know what his contract situation is, so that has me leaning towards Mark here personally, but you don't know.
You don't, I'll pick Roderick, but I mean, I think you guys are right. If he is signing a contract anytime soon, maybe not.
I'll pick Mark here, yeah.
Next up, 6-man tag action. Moose tags up with War Machine to take on the Bullet Club contingent of Adam Cole, Bay, and the Young Bucks, who I'm going to colorfully term the American Elite, seeing as, Omega is not going to work America. But, man, Moose and War Machine is a tag team to salivate about for sure. It's a lot of big boys.
Oh, man, you're telling me. Oof, I'm going to pick him. I think the Bullet Club will probably win, but I'm going to pick my big boys here. I just love War Machine and Moose together.
Well, this should be Moose's final match here in ROH. Also interesting that both these guys have the 2 first spots on the card. So, but Bullet Club, we just started this feud or whatever. You're not going to have them lose to Moose and War Machine here.
Oh, come on, please! I just want to watch it happen. I love the Bullet Club, but I love this grouping.
Yeah, I love it too. It's a shame it has to come so late, but Moose has pretty much made it apparent that ROH is not in his future, and it looks like NXT is. And the Bullet Club, of course, the American Elite here are they're still new, so they're gonna get this win here. But this should be a really fun match. War Machine. For as big as they are, and Moose, as big as they are, they can certainly work that same style that Cole and the Young Bucks bring to the table. So I expect a good one there. And then next up, we have Leo Rush, who I'm very quickly become a large fan of, taking on Donovan Dijak with Prince Nana. Donovan is another giant man who is scary athletic. Leo Rush is quicker than a hiccup. This should be really fun.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Go ahead.
This one's tough. And I'm right there with Paul. I'm loving Leo Rush. I mean, this guy, ever since he came in here, I just been a fan. I'm gonna go Dijak though. I mean, Rush is great, but I think this Prince Nana stuff. I think he's gonna find a way for him to win.
I'm gonna go with you on that too, Gary. I think Donovan Dijak. He's the one that kind of has the storyline going. This kind of seems to be a start for something bigger, so I'll go with Dijak.
Let's make it 3. None of that stuff has to go somewhere eventually. Hopefully, this is the first step towards that.
Eventually.
And then we have a match here I'm really looking forward to, as I haven't seen a lot of this next guy. But you hear so much, especially his matches with Dragon Lee. I'm talking about Kama Itachi taking on Kyle O'Reilly. My God, sleeper match of the show here.
Yeah, and I think on the next night is Jay White's first match with Kama Itachi.
I think you're correct.
Two doozies there for Kama Itachi starting out. I mean, this is gonna be really good. This could be that, show stealer if they let it go there. Kyle O'Reilly, obviously, but
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Kyle O'Reilly. I feel like he's the guy to beat.
Yeah, I think we're building towards something with Kyle here, going towards Final Battle after this, and more wins the better. But this should be an absolutely standout match, especially if they get a lot of time.
did we ever talk about them moving? That they got out of Terminal 5?
I don't think we talked about them moving to Terminal 5, but
Or the Hammerstein?
yeah,
that's really cool that they're going back there, because the audience for that should be awesome.
Hammerstein just has so much history to it, and it's such a great venue for wrestling. And it surprised me that they're going back there, because we talked about this. I mean, it seems like forever ago, but when TNA was doing their tapings there and Ring of Honor was doing stuff there, and then they suddenly raised the rent on them, and then they both bailed, and now they're back. And
they got new owners, and the owners figured out that you need to make it more sensible so people will actually rent out the place. So.
Makes sense. Yeah, so, I mean, thank God they're out of Terminal 5. I've heard so many horror stories about how awful that building is, especially when you're there live.
Pillars that just block views completely.
Yeah, and if you're not on the floor, you might as well not even have bothered going to the show.
That's bad.
Apparently the balcony is just terrible, but... So next up on this card, as we try to get back on track here, Fight Without Honor, BJ Whitmer, Steve Corino. I was into this feud a while ago. They had to let it cool because of injuries. It's sort of been bubbling in the background, and now you're kind of getting a fizzle with a little bit of heat still to it. But I'm interested. They can pull you right back into this if this is a home run.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It is a fizzle, and I'm looking forward to it, but my love for it has kind of fallen away. I'm going to go Corino, because I don't know, like they could possibly get more out of this. I don't know. I have a feeling though, for some reason, that they're just going to let this thing just get squashed, done, and then they can move on. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but it's just because of this way this whole thing has worked out.
I mean, I got to think Colby has a role to play in all of this, Sean.
I would too. You'd imagine so. I'd imagine maybe Colby goes back to supporting his dad here. They could have it go to Final Battle. I mean, you got a long way to go to Final Battle. You still got the All-Star show in September and all that. It seemed like it was just going to be a one-time thing when they were originally going to do it. So I imagine that's what we're doing here. Corino wins, and perhaps you get the feel-good story of Colby, finally accepting his dad or whatever.
I think you do. I think you have Colby come out, tease he's going to turn on his dad, and then he turns on BJ. The crowd's going to go wild because BJ's going to finally get what's his. You get the feel-good moment. I think you send the fans happy going into your round of title matches. Speaking of title matches, segue. First one's ROH World Tag Team title taking on The Addiction defending against Motor City Machine Guns. This TNA guys written all over this, but 4 great workers, guys who've been around a long time. This should be really fun.
I'm going to go... man, this is tough because I could see cases for both tag teams. Maybe I'd go with Motor City.
Yeah, I mean, the Addiction, this whole thing with Addiction it makes sense because you have the Chris Sabin tie-in and everything. I think you have the Motor City Machine Guns. You've already seen the Addiction have like a long title reign before and all that. I mean, I don't see the point of, other than unless you want to just have this go to the next pay-per-view, which I guess that works too. That's Motor City Machine Guns winning here makes sense.
I think the second the Addictions won the championships, I automatically was thinking transitional champions. Once again, I think that's the role they serve here. You get some nice payoff here with Sabin and all that with the guns, and I think they win the belts. And strong champions too. They can have a great match with anybody. So, a match I'm really excited for is up next. Bobby Fish defends the ROH World Television title against Dalton Castle, who of course will have the boys with him. Oh boy, could this be the crowning moment for Dalton Castle, Mr. Gary Vaughn?
Man, I want it to be so badly, but I don't know. I don't know if Fish can lose it that fast. I don't know if it's right for him to lose it that quickly. After that great achievement for him, I don't know. This is too tough. It really is. I'm going to say no. I want it to happen, but I'm going to say no.
Man, there could be potentially a lot of, doing things for the faces on this show. If you're going to say Machine Guns win the tag titles, are you really going to have the Dalton Castle, win the TV? I think you can kind of string that thing along with Dalton Castle a little bit. Bobby Fish had to wait a long time to win his title. Yeah, it's possible he's transitional or whatever, but I kind of see him getting a little bit longer run, so I'm going to say Bobby Fish on this one.
Man, I'm going to say it's Dalton Castle's time. I think they give it to him here. I think you strike when the iron's hot. I don't know where you go afterwards is the only problem. There's not a strong heel waiting in the wings for Dalton, but I think it won't matter just because Dalton's that over and you can throw anybody at him. So
glad they ran Silas Young on the ground already.
Yeah. I mean, I think if I had to go shot in the dark, I would say Donovan Dijak, but really you could line up anybody.
Yeah.
That leads us to the main event, though. ROH World Title. Jay Lethal defends once again against Jay Briscoe, a rematch 1 year in the making that has had zero build, but yet here we are. This has Bullet Club Run In written all over it.
Oh boy. I'm so looking forward to this.
Yeah.
And all the bitching online that will ensue afterwards, too. Honestly, I know Jay has been champion many times, whatever, but, where do you go with Jay Lethal after you beat Jay again? Unless it's, well, no, actually, never mind, because he's kind of feuding with Bullet Club, right? So, yeah, Jay Lethal retains because this is set up for Jay and Adam Cole.
Baby!
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, see, I don't think you can have Jay Lethal lose in this if it was to go clean, which I'm with Paul on this. I don't think anything's clean on this. I think, Bullet Club definitely intervenes, takes care of business. Because, I just look at you also go think, like Sean, you alluded to other championships, other victories in this, and, if you're going to yank my chain when it comes to Dalton Castle, or people yank their own chains. But it comes down to this: is the fact that it just makes more sense for me if it's going to go clean on the main title. It's going to go Jay Lethal.
I'm so hesitant to say this because I really want to think that ROH isn't going to go back-to-back pay-per-views with a no finish in your main event. But I see it coming. The Bullet Club runs in, they make Jay Lethal and Briscoe sort of fight together to fight him off, and then it just breaks down and you don't get a finish.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you have Colt Cabana come in and make the save again, and you have your 6-man for All Star. But I feel like no finish is coming. And that could be kind of sad.
Yeah, it is definitely sad because there's so many good things you could get out of this, but really it's just I think you're right. I think the doom and gloom that cloud hangs over this main event.
I mean, it's the path you set on when you decide to go full bore on the Bullet Club in ROH.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, well, there you go. That rounds out this Best in the World preview. We'll, of course, get into the review later. We'll let you know everything that entails once we get to see the show. Of course, this also kind of finishes up the show tonight. We appreciate everybody who's come out and checked us out. Of course, if you did not, again, get a chance to hear us and hear our special about Money in the Bank, go listen to that episode. You get Dominion as well. That's an added bonus for you guys who are New Japan fans. It's a great show. Tom Reese was on there with us. It was awesome. You need to go look at that. And we appreciate you for coming and checking out this show, too. The W2M Network, don't forget about it. Go subscribe. Go rate and review us. Hey, all of that helps us, and we really appreciate everyone who's done it already. Hey, tell your friends to go do the same for us. Just, spread the word about the podcast, and also, go join that Wrestling to the Max group on Facebook if you're not already part of it. It's growing day by day by day. Trust me, over 1,000 strong, and it is growing. And of course, Sean, I know we have a few other podcasts coming up this week. Anything you want to mention?
Yeah, we were supposed to do a wrap of E3, but just, man, all the stuff that's been going on, I think we're going to kind of do that and tie it in with what's been happening this week after E3 over the weekend and whatnot, either tomorrow or Wednesday. And yeah, we'll do the football show. We'll be back on Thursday, and then we'll start our going back to 2 a week in anticipation of getting ever so closer to the NFL season and college football season starting. And Wrestling Unwrapped, it's going to be just me and Harry, so I got to try to find something for us to watch. So, yeah, that'll be one of those you'll find out when it drops.
Yeah, Halloween Havoc's always a good one to watch. So, just throwing that out there. There's a lot of good pay-per-views.
There's a lot of years of Halloween Havoc there. You gotta be a bit more specific.
Just pick the worst one. But anyway, yeah, I'm glad that there's lots of great stuff coming on the W2M Network, and of course, Joe, we've got some new shows on there. You guys need to go check out. If you have not gone on there and looked in a while, go look. We've got some great ones. Plus, also want to throw this out there. Congrats to the Cleveland Cavaliers. We didn't say that earlier, but I just want to say that to all you Cleveland fans who have not had a victory in a long time in your city. This is awesome for you guys. I know Golden State fans are probably pissed I said that, but hey, Cleveland has not got a lot of great things in a long time, so this is awesome for a city that has been in a drought. I'm just happy for that alone. I don't even like LeBron James all that much. I'm happy for the city. So that's good stuff, and of course, we will be back on Friday morning on the download. And of course, if you want to listen live, come check us out late on Thursday night. We will be here and we will be talking all about Lucha Underground, NXT, TNA Impact, and of course, all the big news that is coming your way from this week. We will be getting into all that next episode. part 2 of our 200th episode. But besides that, just want to let you guys know, for me, for Sean, and for Paul, we just want you always to remember, if you're not living life to the max,
Not living life at all.
You know it.
Peace.